right, Profit Bosses, get ready because today's guest is serving up a masterclass in reinvention with a side of rhythm and soul. From stage lights to spotlight, Robin Nathaniel went from rockin' mics as a musician to rockin' minds as a TEDx speaker, social media force for good. His story just isn't inspirational, it's transformational. Think resiliency meets reinvention with a whole lot of heart and love. Didn't just pivot, he pirouetted into purpose, using his creative roots to build a brand that connects, creates, and contributes. In a world that desperately needs more meaning and fewer selfies with no substance, right? So if you've ever felt like you're stuck, and I know I do with this with social media, right? And you're stuck in chapter one in your life or your business and you're ready to flip the script, this is your backstage pass to unlocking the next level. So grab your pen, grab your power, and let's dive into the conversations that prove reinvention isn't just possible, but it's profitable.
Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
All right, Robin, thank you for being here. So excited. So let's just call it out. Most CEOs cringe at the idea of personal branding. Why do they feel like marketing themselves is icky? And how do you help them turn that cringe into confidence?
Yes, I think that one thing that I'm noticing and seeing for folks who have been behind the camera, not in the public eye, if you will, is that they don't want other people to start looking at them a certain way. Like, oh, did you see what Jim was doing? Jim has a TikTok. Oh my gosh. Like they want to avoid, the negative connotation that goes along with like, quote unquote, a personal brand.
Right.
However, the way I frame it to leaders, specifically people who have the authority to kind of do what they want to do with their company, with their marketing, whether that's social or in other areas, I always say like it won't hurt to try, right? And more importantly, the people that you're serving, the clients, the audience, the people that you're improving the lives of, whatever your business does, like it's a disservice to them to not to get that full picture of you. So I always give a disclaimer. You don't need to like let it all out the bag. You don't need to let them know what you had for dinner, for lunch and breakfast. But
Amen.
yeah, but some of the things that happen in your business or some of the stories aligned with your origin story could actually influence someone greatly.
I love it. And I love that, being a CEO, right? My social media team is always like, well, if we're going on TikTok, you got to dance. I'm like, no, that's not me. That's not my brand. I'm not, no. So
No, got to stay
talk
true.
about that, right?
Yep.
What's the line between authentic and overshare?
hmm
And you always talk about you don't have to show up and dance. So let's talk about that because I think there's a lot of people like me. It's like, yes, I want my content out there. I want to give and serve, but I ain't doing the dance. That's for my grandkids.
Yep. I'll start by saying this, Susie, that I can be a bit radical when it comes to this stuff. So there might be people in the industry, quote unquote, gurus in the space that might give different advice than mine, and I might dispute some of theirs.
Yeah.
So that I'll
Like
give
that.
that.
Be that disruptor, Robin. Be that
So I'll
disruptor.
start with that. A lot of my work is built on human connection, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell people on social, specifically people who are new to social or who have some kind of barrier that's preventing them from going all in on it, is to start looking at it as conversations with people you care about. Start looking at it as letters that you're writing to people you care about. Start looking at it as photos that you're taking that you're going to send to someone you care about. When I send a photo to my dad, I give a certain amount of care to what I send him, right?
Yeah.
I don't just accidentally send him 10. I want to make sure I send him the one or two that he really needs to receive. And also speaking in a voice to your audience where it's almost like you're connecting with the best friend. And I think once folks can flip that switch, it simplifies things in a way to kind of remove some of those barriers that are preventing them from really reaching and optimizing, the platform, reaching as many people as they can and optimizing the platforms, because you do not have to dance. Like TikTok, there are literally people on TikTok right now teaching kids how to do science. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
so much um there's so much opportunity there, and I just want people to just kind of take a step back. It's not that serious. It's just a tool for you to connect deeper with your audience.
Yes, thank you. Right. So we just have to be consistent. So you built what you call a credibility ecosystem on social. That sounds sexy and smart. I love it. Give me a procedure, Robin. So let's talk about that. How can leaders create that and so that they can trust the inside of their organization and put it out in the world?
If you don't create your narrative, someone will create it for you.
Hmm.
So there are people in very high positions or people who operate large 7, 8 figure businesses like your audience that have so much influence. But if they don't leverage their influence, in fact, someone else could leverage it for them, especially in the era of AI. Like someone can do a clone of you and
Yeah.
like create the messaging around what they want to use your personal brand for. And that's the extreme side of the spectrum. But I say that to say this: if you in fact take the time to harness your voice and leverage this tool, it will amplify any and everything that you touch. The key is just to start, and don't get discouraged by low numbers. One of the things that I'm kind of an adversary to is people prioritizing their vanity metrics over the connections that they're making. For me, I ask people often, would you rather have 1 million views on a video, or would you rather save a life? Would you rather have 1 million views on a video, or would you rather impact hundreds of people? I had a video go viral in 2020, Susie, and I was jazzed. I was hyped. I was smitten. I was like, oh, 2
Look at
million
me. Look at
views.
me.
Look at me, right? And not one sale, not one lead, nothing. Just a bunch of comments and a bunch of likes. Fast forward, I created a video on Facebook that did 350 views. It led to a business relationship that went on for years and led to thousands of dollars of revenue for my company. So the point is, don't get caught up in the numbers, get caught up in the message.
Exactly. And the metrics, right? The message and the metrics,
And
message.
define your metrics though. Like it's okay. I understand that impressions are and reach. Like my day job, I do work for local government as well. So I have my boutique agency. I also do work for local government. Metrics are a big part of what we do. So I get impressions, reach, click through rate. Those are the standard metrics. I would challenge folks to create their own for their team based on whatever their mission and vision is, right? Look at your mission statement and say, how can we create some kind of KPI related to this mission? And don't just follow the sheep.
Right. So, what's one mistake that CEOs are making to be more visible online? And what's one surprisingly easy fix that works every time?
I think the makeup room is holding people back. That's the biggest mistake. I gotta have my lights right. I gotta have the right light. I gotta have the right camera. It's it's gotta be. I gotta post at the right time of the day. I gotta make sure everything is right. I need everything done. When in fact, the easiest solution for that is just do a story. If you're on Facebook, you can do stories. If you're on Instagram, you can do stories. If you're on TikTok, you can do stories. Just pull out the phone. Just say, hey guys, whatever the message is of the day, connect with your audience and just get the reps in. There'll be time to get into the makeup room. There'll be time to go into the professional film studio. But right now, the priority is just taking the locks off and opening up and sharing that version of yourself that you're willing to share with your audience.
So let's talk about that because you are naturally creative. You're a musician, right? You God gave you some gifts that not all of us have. So let's be honest. Well, and that's probably why, they hire you, right, as an agency. So let's look at how your creative energy shaped how you teach CEOs to tell their stories now.
Somebody asked me recently in a podcast interview. They asked me, "Hey, Robin, like, what makes you unique?" And I thought about it because I don't like to be like, "Well, I did this and I did that, and I'm special because of these are my unique qualities," right? But the thing that really it always comes back to is my musical roots and the fact that I come from hip hop culture. So obviously, some of the spaces that I walk into, I'm in there with like diplomats. I'm in there with like county administrators and local government leaders and state government leaders and public safety officials like chiefs of police and fire, all of this stuff. And it's very much like, hey, sit up straight and button up. But I've come to a point in my career, Susie, where I'm okay with sharing that piece of who I am that makes me unique. So I might say things in a meeting. It'll be like, yeah, it's almost like with Jay-Z and Beyonce. And people will, A, it's a disruptor to the normal pattern of the way people are speaking in this space, but also it makes me unique. So I'm unapologetically me. Like, and I think that's one thing that's helped me to stand out.
I love it. Unapologetically you, right? I think that's what makes your authenticity, your voice, matter. I think we need to all tap into that versus I got to be perfect. I love that you said that the makeup, right? Because social media is full of noise, filters, and fluff. So,
Mm.
how do you help us purpose-driven leaders cut through that chaos and stand out without selling? I know you've talked about it, and I just want to dive a little bit deeper because I think we stay on the surface. And like you said, I'm unapologetic on who
Hmm.
I am. And that is a skill to go. I know I used to wait and kind of go, I'm going to say this, wait for the bomb to drop. And the bomb was, oh my God, thank you for telling the truth. Oh my God, thank you for saying you're not perfect. Oh my God, thank you for sharing your mess, right? Thank you for, just telling us the truth. Because the reality is when we're building businesses, I've learned more from my failures. I've learned more from being in the gutter. I've learned more from doing it wrong. I've learned more from saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, right? So how do you teach people to cut through that chaos and stand out?
I love that. Whew. So I'll give you a quick and dirty breakdown of my sync method. It's what
Yeah.
I base my book on, Social Media Sync, a framework for intentional human connection in the age of AI. So it starts with simplicity. The first pillar is S is for simple. I find too often on social, people make it so complicated that it's nearly impossible for people to receive and actually put their messages into practice, right? So I think sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's okay to trim things down and edit things down to make it more palatable for the people who are receiving it. So that's the first pillar. Y is for yield to your intentions. So when people create content sometimes, especially bigger businesses, right? If you're a large 8-figure business and you're like thinking about social, sometimes it becomes a box that we check. It's just another thing on the to-do list. It's like, gotta go into Canva and create some graphics, gotta shoot 2 videos, gotta cut up my podcast. Like whatever the thing is, whatever your mechanism is for creating, it's become just this thing that you do, as opposed to something that you're creating with intention. So the why is really yield to your intention, which means just take a step before you create anything and think about A, how you want people to feel when they receive it, and then B, how do you want them what action do you want them to take? The next one is natural. N is for natural. I see people walk into social media spaces like they're walking into the conference room. You have that report on my desk. It's a 25 billion over seven. Like no one talks like that, right? Like there might be numbers being thrown around, but when you're talking to your team, you don't communicate like that. And if you do, because there are spaces that are like that, then be true to that. However, most spaces, especially if you're talking to your best friend, like I said a little earlier, you don't talk like that. So think about it as almost I'm translating this complex information and these complex messages for someone that I love and care about. And that's a secret hack. And the last step is change it up. Don't sit there and run the same play over and over again if you're not getting the results that you want. It's okay to experiment a little bit. I always talk about, not always, but most times when I'm talking about content, I like to talk about universe building. Like you're building actually a content universe across these platforms. And I always start with the core world. What's the primary focus, mission, or story that we're really focused on? And then from there, start thinking about orbital territories. What are some adjacent concepts or topics that we can actually pull from to add new layers into our content strategy? And again, that's just a simple breakdown of my sync method. But if you can take those 4 pillars and just think about them as you're going into next month, what I tell people sometimes, get off the hamster wheel. Like next month, let's not post in September. Let's just take September to reassess, maybe move people around in seats, maybe bring somebody else in, hire an advisor, take a new look at it and restart in October.
Yes, I think we get just I have been the box checker, right? I've been like, okay, I've done my 45 videos, right? And I'm like, but there's no passion in it. I'm like, I'm bored. If I'm bored, you're bored, right? And I love that just to reevaluate to go, why am I doing this? Right? I did it with all my channels, with my podcast, with the website, with my social media to go, let's do an audit. Like, are people watching this? Because if they're not, we're spending a shit ton of money to not have people watch and not have people engage. And I believe quality over quantity, just like you. I don't, who cares, right? If nobody's getting on your list, if nobody's taking action, if nobody's raising their hand, if nobody's asking you questions, it's time to pivot and be okay. I love, like, just give ourselves permission to take it off, right? Do a social media break and a cleanse and a detox,
Nobody's
right?
gonna die. Nobody's gonna die. And I think that it's where we are with social. It's like it must be done by all costs. I'm like, nah. You better off taking a month off to really do a deep dive, like you said, analyze the data, find out what worked well, what didn't, and adjust the content strategy. Especially if you've been on a 6-month or more rotation and you haven't seen the results that you want. It might be time for a change.
Yes. And so tell us, Robin, tell us your sweet spot. Tell us your jam. Tell us who you work with, right? Because you've got your niche inside of a niche, right? Helping businesses. So I want to hear from you, like, who is your ideal client that you're like, these are my people, and I want to help these people. I know it's my people, but just so people hear from your mouth, right? Your niche and your sweet spot.
Yep. So a few years ago, I was serving everybody. And you know what they say, if you try to serve everybody, you end up serving nobody.
Right.
But I had a pretty good client list, and I found that um, the majority of my revenue was coming from one group of people. And after the audit, I went all in on that. And the people that I really have been serving over the last few years have been nonprofit organizations, but also mission driven organizations, people who are doing things beyond making money, people who are trying to improve the lives of the people that they serve and their clients, and people who have a greater mission beyond just making money, which I think is super important to make money. And that's something I would never discount. However, the people that I've been serving, there's always a mission aligned with the business. And that's really been my sweet spot over the last few years.
I love it. And you also live by the motto connect, create, and contribute. So, what does that look like? Give me some receipts, right, for the modern CEO, the mission driven CEO, the nonprofit. Kind of share how you leverage that
Yeah,
motto.
I love that you asked me that. You're doing a great job with your question, Susie. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you've been really thoughtful and you've clearly done your homework. So I'm grateful for you. I'll just start with a quick story. So in 2021, my brother fell ill. He was on his essentially what would become his deathbed. But while he was on his deathbed, Susie, he was talking about his dreams. He was talking about his goals. Hey,
Mhm.
Robin, I want to be a gamer. Like, dude, like you're about to be 50. You want to be a gamer? I was like sitting there on the phone with him, like, wow. And it inspired me to make some changes in my business. And he passed away November 7th of 2021. And after that, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I had never felt pain like that before. But I also felt like I wanted to change things, not just in my business, but in my life. And I did what I call the joy audit, where I pulled out a piece of paper and I just looked at every single hour of time. Like from the time I woke up at 5 a.m. to the time I went to bed in the wee hours of the night. Was I getting enough rest? Was I spending enough time with my children? And it was too jumbled. It was like I was doing too much. So I
Yeah.
said, I need to simplify this. How can I do it? And I was trying to think of a framework or a way. And it hit me when I was making a sandwich one morning. I'm not making a sandwich, I'm creating.
You're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you tired of struggling to take your business to the next level? Power Your Profits is the game-changing book you've been waiting for. Dr. Susie Carder, creator of the Predictable Success Method, reveals her proven strategies for explosive growth. From daily operations to marketing systems, this comprehensive guide empowers you to achieve predictable revenue and profit growth. Don't miss out on this invaluable wisdom. Transform your business today. Find your copy at books.poweryourprofits.com. Are you tired of pouring resources into strategies that don't work? Say hello to Dr. Susie Carder, your future fractional COO. With Dr. Susie in your corner, your business can skyrocket to 7 figures and beyond. With a track record of creating thriving businesses, trust that you are in good hands. Head over to coo.poweryourprofits.com and let us put some magic into your business growth.
It hit me when I went to have a coffee with my wife. I'm not having a coffee with my wife just catching up. I'm actually connecting. And it's not me working with my clients getting that post out. It's actually me contributing. And right then I decided that those 3 pillars would guide me, not just in my business life, but in my personal life, my creative life. And I use that as like boundaries. If it doesn't fit one or all 3, then I'm not even doing it. So it
Yes.
doesn't, your 3 buckets might look different than mine, and it might not be 3, it might be 5, but you know what your non-negotiables are. And you know that when we allow things into our lives that will negatively impact our mission, then it's time to cut. It's time to snip, snip. But the best defense is to not even allow them in. And that's where I am right now with that mantra.
Well, I love it. It's a way to give yourself an audit, like a quick audit of your life and go, is this serving me? I think, especially when we are creative and we are like, I love making a difference. Like that is mine. Like my job is to, I believe that God, the gift to me was my life, and my gift back to God is what do I do with my life? Right? How do
Mm.
I make that difference? How do I show up? And it's not always money, right? 'Cause money helps the world go around and we all have to have it. But that's not why I do what I do. I don't do it for money. I do it for making a difference, right? Changing a person's life. And that could be one post, that could be one like, one share, one belief system. And so if you look at, you fill in the blank on this, Robin, if a CEO starts showing up authentically and telling their story, they're going to what?
If they show up authentically and tell their story, they'll forge intentional human connections, real life, authentic human connections. People
Yeah.
sometimes look at the internet as a place where you can't develop those. And I would challenge that because look at us. Like we've never had a chance to fist bump, high five, or shake hands,
Right.
right? But here we are having this. For me, it's a profound conversation. So I would tell CEOs that you have the ability to forge some genuine and intentional human connections if you can show up as your authentic self.
In 2021, my granddaughter was born, and she had a seizure when she was born, and she has cerebral palsy, and she wasn't supposed to live, and we were fighting for her life. And I remember, like, I've never asked my community for anything. I've poured and I've given, and I was like, I'm on my knees begging God, show me, right? What do we do? And he said, go to the people. I'm like, go to the people. So I'm very like I share my personal life, but I don't share my personal life, right? I'm like, I'm gonna here to serve you, but like I can't work all the time, right? I just need to turn it off. And so I shared, right? I shared pictures and I asked for prayer. I didn't want anything. I didn't want money. I just, please help me pray for this baby.
Mm.
Please, can we come together? And Robin, people created prayer rooms for her, war rooms, right? They sent prayers that I'm just getting chills thinking about it. Like I had people all over the world praying for this baby. And we were like life or death. I didn't want to text my daughter every morning. I'm like, how do we do? Like, is she alive? Like, you don't want to say that, but that was the state that we were all in. And every day this baby got stronger. And every day, like showed signs of healing and miracles. And there were so many miracles. And now this baby is 4. Right now, this baby is living an amazing life. Sure, she still has cerebral palsy. Sure, she's still in physical therapy and occupational therapy and speech therapy, but this baby is a warrior. And I'm clear it's because I was courageous enough to open the curtain and go, I just need my people. I just need some prayers. I just need some support, which I'd never thought about doing, right? It just didn't occur to me. And that authentic self to go, I just need to say, I need help. And the wave of people, the wave of love and commitment that my community gave me, and still, right? They're like, oh my God, look at Naomi. Oh my God, look how strong she is. Oh my God. And she just kind of walks like a little drunken sailor, with
Mhm.
her little cerebral palsy, and she's got her little hand and we call righty, right? Righty doesn't work as well. And like to see her self-esteem around this disability that's not a disability to her. And when you show up authentically, right, it doesn't always have to be like a tragic help. It's just like, I need your help in, are we on the right message? I need your help on, right? How do we come together as a community? I need your help on how do we support you in building more content? Like people want to help. I know I want to help. I know when people raise their hand and go, can you help me? I'm like, yes, I will help you. Right? So how do you help businesses, Robin, as we close this out? Like what how do we play with you? How do we get you to help us in this? Because it is noisy and you got to cut through the noise to find your unique message and your unique gift that only you give, not following what Susie does, not following what Robin does, not following what Marie Folio does. Like what is your unique voice? So how do you help people? How do they play with you, Robin?
Yep. I want to first say thank you for sharing your story about your granddaughter, and God bless her, and your community for their prayers. And I'll actually, my response is kind of rooted in that because I think it's a great example of building some really good connection. Far too often we don't want to share the mud on our boots, right? The things that maybe aren't as popular, aren't as exciting, sexy, or appealing to people. And there's a limit to it, right? I have some things in my life that I won't publicly discuss because it's just really no one's business. But there's some times in our journey where the thing that we're going through can not just impact someone else, but sharing it could actually feed into and pour into what you're going through to help you get through it. So I would say to play with me, or like to for me to help you, I would really say it's about you helping your people that you serve. People don't have to hire me. I tell people all the time, Susie, just get some help. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be me. It could be Gary V. Like whoever's in your price range, just bring somebody in to help you connect with your audience deeper. Because one thing that I've learned over the years, and I've been doing social media for 20 years. I didn't know that it was a career when I started. I started on MySpace helping bands book shows. That was
MySpace, come
yeah.
on now. Let's bring it back, Robin.
Right? So I started my career booking shows with this tool that could let me speak to people, and ended up creating a global hip hop movement by the internet, right? That led me to where I am in this career today. So for the people that I help, and for your audience right here in this moment, just in the spirit of service, I would say this: connect with your audience in a way that they feel like they know you, even though you've never met in person. Just like what Susie just shared, that story about her granddaughter. There are probably people 4 years later that still know and still respond to her and you because of that intimate moment that you created. So again, you hold the keys to what is public knowledge. So I always say that don't share the thing that's not supposed to be shared. There is a cringe level to it, right? Like some people go a little too far. Like you don't need to like weave a business story into your marriage proposal. You don't have to do that. You can if you want to, but if as a human, you feel like something in your life needs to be shared with your audience and it could build that true connection, it's something that will last the test of time. And I would strongly encourage folks to do that.
Yeah, and I want to say that I didn't do it as a shtick. I didn't do it as to, oh, this will get people to pay attention. I didn't do it as, this is the strategy. It just came from that authenticity of going, I'm building a business. I'm a mom, right? I'm a grandma. There's all these complexities of being a business. And when you compartmentalize, I think we rip people off on the true gift that you do to blend it all together. So, Robin, thank you. You just dropped some gems, right? You dropped some blueprints. If you go back and listen to this episode on how we can lead with our heart, how we can connect with purpose, how we can build influence without faking it, how to sync, right? Simple, yield, natural, and change it up, right? Using that as a foundation so that you can stay clear and stop hiding behind the corporate jargon, right? The beige brown branding, right? Because, honey, this is your permission slip to step into your spotlight. So if this episode lit a fire on you, I don't know how it didn't, because it did me. I got chills from Robin, you sharing your story about your brother, me sharing my story about Naomi. Don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. And more importantly, share it. Somebody needs Robin. Somebody needs this boss babe crew that we have been putting together. And make sure you subscribe, because you never know. You might miss out on that mic drop moment. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, Susie, I'm ready to own my voice and own my business, I need you to follow Robin. I need you to hit that like, hit that subscribe. And if you're looking at what's next for me in my business, go take our $1,000,000 assessment, right? That's an assessment that you can look at your business and go, where's my holes in my boat? Right? Because you got to know, where do I need to start? Is it get your branding? Is it social media? Is it taking that next level? Is it money? Right? Is it about working smarter? Right? It's about building the empire that makes a difference, building that empire that allows us to connect, to create, and contribute. So until next time, stay powerful, stay profitable, and remember, your story is your strategy, and let Robin help you do that. So go use it.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.